then, team. Welcome back to the Scratch Record Podcast!
Yeah! We're back, baby.
We're back. We're not back. No, literally not back. We are here, though, today.
Well, we're always here
We are here today.
because you're always where you are.
Oh, Joe.
Think about it.
Do what?
You can't say we're here because you were always. You can't say we're not here.
It's
'cause
too
you would
early,
always be
Joe,
here.
for this.
It's the middle of the afternoon.
Exactly. Still don't sleep very well. Nothing's changed in the last 2
Oh.
years.
Literally nothing has changed.
There's been so much that's changed.
Oh yeah, that's the whole point.
That's the whole reason we are here. But how have you been? Because it's been a while. I've not actually seen you since we stopped recording.
Imagine how weird that would be if this was like
Did
the
not
last
actually
time I saw you was October 2023.
Yeah, we've not seen each other since then. So life been going well.
Yeah, it's been alright, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, same old, really.
Same old
yeah,
shit.
nothing's changed at
Yeah.
all.
Well, we've got a new set.
Yeah, we have got a new set.
We've got a new
It's your
set.
nan's back room.
Yeah,
It's
Nan's
not.
upstairs. She's just making dinner.
Who makes dinner upstairs?
Chefing in the kitchen. She got to do what she got to do. She actually has a kitchen upstairs
She
because she has
doesn't.
a problem getting back downstairs.
Oh, that got a bit deep. Yeah, I've been alright, thanks, mate. How are you?
yeah. Still depressed, but we're moving.
Yeah.
Still
shame-
not
shame that, really.
mentally incredibly well.
no.
But we're, I
No,
better than
don't,
I
because that's
was.
people are gonna be sympathetic now. We don't actually want
That's
that.
the fucking point.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we do it.
Begging for attention.
Yeah, attention whore.
Yeah, what have we been doing then for 18 months?
Well, so we essentially finished the festival
Yes.
in 23
Yes.
and never mentioned anything again.
Yeah.
Just kind of went on a hiatus,
Yeah.
really.
Okay, so yeah, there's two quick reasons why we're back.
Yes.
We
Quick. You said there were quick reasons. Two quick reasons.
I didn't say it wouldn't be not quick to formulate them in my head.
Okay.
Slow or not quick, same thing really. One reason. Reason number one. Reason
number
A.
one. Reason A, yeah.
Trippy, I
I
can't
want
look
full
at
peel
you.
points.
You're just looking depressed.
Oh yeah,
Stop
also,
looking at me.
quick one. We don't have any cameras on them today. Trippy would not let us put the head cam on that we did once.
No.
But Trips is here on the mic. Say hello.
Hello.
Miserable as always. Cameraman Chris is also here. Say hello. As
Hello.
usual.
It's a
As
really good
usual.
bit, that.
But yeah, so they are here. We have the full gang back together. But Elliot Williams is not here.
So we don't have the full.
So we
gang
don't have the
together.
full gang. But Mr. Williams is.
Ooh, Mr. Williams is strange.
I don't know where he is.
Anyway,
Not here.
reason A. It's been 18 months and we just disappeared. Off the
Yeah,
face
we
of the
did.
earth.
We
were
did
in a very
disappear.
good rhythm of it. We had some of our biggest guests of all time recording at festivals. We put on our own festival and then we just stopped. So, firstly, we wanted to have a bit of a chat about that, where we've been, what's going to happen, so that we didn't just leave people in the lurch.
Yeah, and also I think for us as well to give it a little bit of a bookend.
Yeah, bookend's good.
Thank you.
Yeah, because
Thank
have them
you.
at both ends. don't
Yeah,
we?
you do.
Generally.
Yeah, general. When's he getting it? Aye,
Good.
Captain.
Yeah, see, that's probably not been part of the podcast, which is a shame.
Yeah, it feels like there's going to be a lot of things said that you lot are not going to remember.
That was such an intrusive thought.
I just couldn't stop myself.
For the audio listeners, Elliot just opened my pocket in the middle of that.
It's got Velcro on it.
I feel really like that was really invasive. Didn't like that at all. Number 6, it's also been, when this comes out, hopefully. The funny thing is I can see this coming out in like 6 months.
No.
By the time we actually
I've
do
got
it.
someone
No.
booked in to edit it next week.
Hired
See,
someone.
Elliot Williams is editing it next
Yeah.
week. 'cause-
So why are you acting like you've booked in a random man?
well, I booked it. It's in his calendar.
It will have hopefully, when this has come out, 5 years to the day
Yeah.
since we launched our first podcast.
5
which-
years to the day, which is the reason that we are wanting to do this for closure, but also just to kind of commemorate the fact that we've done some really cool things through it, achieved lots of cool stuff as two people working out of fucking my mum's garage. And just really to kind of work over them stuffs, mull it over, make everyone just kind of like summarize it a little bit.
Yeah, I think
'cause
so. A bit of closure.
A
on
little
the
bit
whole
closure,
thing.
yeah, massively, massively.
And I think that's maybe half spoiled it, but also the point is that we're not actually back. we want to do this to close the chapter, to bookend it.
Yeah.
This will be the last ever Scratch Record podcast.
It will be. It will be. Which it does feel. I felt, when I was getting ready today, it did feel a bit like a funeral.
What were you putting on?
A suit.
That's probably
I then
why.
took it off and put the t-shirt on. I wore
We
full
sh-
black suit,
We should have
sunglasses.
worn suits.
Like
That would've been
morning.
Quite good.
Yeah, had
Mor-
all the-
morning.
More.
One of the best jokes ever.
Go on.
I don't know if I can tell it off the dome this quickly.
Oh my god.
Something like, I really needed the toilet the other week, and the only place I could find was a graveyard to do it in. And a bloke walked past and said, "Morning," and I said, "No, I'm just taking a shit."
That sniff was disgusting. Oh god, yeah, that is good. I like that.
You can have that.
Thank you. I'll
Um,
write them down.
So yeah, look, we're gonna have a bit of a catch up. Well, we've kind of done that bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
We've got a few bits planned, a few
Yeah.
references to old ones. We want to go over some of our best and worst moments, and then probably stop recording and move on with our lives forever.
That's sad.
Do you think?
A little bit.
Mm.
It's sad but happy. Again, just like a funeral. Depends how it died, really.
Well, yeah.
Circumstantial.
Loads of funerals that aren't happy. Most.
Yeah. Let's move on. But yeah, I think really like we've achieved what we wanted to achieve with it. I think in some ways, we've done some really cool things, and I think like especially the town takeover stuff.
Especially. Yes.
The town takeover stuff was really cool. I think like we got some really good acts on, and I think that was one of the reasons that kind of drew an end to a bit of passion with the space really for us.
So what happened? Let's talk about Town Takeover 2023. In my mind, every time I say that, I feel like it was 24. I can't believe it will have been 2 years
since it in
November. That is
yeah, I know, it's
absolutely
mental,
insane.
isn't it?
Town
Yeah,
Takeover
nuts.
23. Even now I feel like I was wrong. It was 23.
Yeah, it was 23.
We, I think, put together the best lineup we possibly could.
Yeah.
And pushed it the best we possibly could, and it was the smoothest operation on the day
Yeah.
ever. Like, it was absolutely insane. We just didn't quite see the ticket sales we wanted to see, and they were actually by no means bad.
No, they weren't. at
They
all.
were really, really solid.
Yeah.
It didn't really grow from 22.
Yeah.
Which I think was the biggest point for me, was that if it was going to continue the festival, it had to be growing every single year.
It had to have some form of, even if it was only an extra 50 tickets.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it needed to be. It would just need to be an extra step up from where it was.
just keep going a bit bigger and better, and it didn't. It took that ever so slight step back. There's loads of reasons for that. I
Yeah.
don't think the date was the best, but it was all we could do.
It's all we
between
could
the two
do
of us.
between the two of us. Yeah, absolutely.
And the weather on the day was terrible.
Mm.
And sounds like a bit of an excuse, but I just think we sold so many on the day in 2022,
yeah.
and we just didn't see the same. If we'd had the same on the day sales, would have been fine.
Yeah, more than
Um,
fine. They probably would have been a 24.
more. But we didn't, and so we kind of took stock after that. Like, lost a little bit of money on it. Not loads, to be fair. We were pretty close
Oh, yeah,
to
it weren't
about breaking
miles.
even on it, but lost a little bit. Wasn't quite as big. And we sort of took a little bit of a, like, that was just before, it would have been like November. So we kind of took a breather from it all. And to be honest, then just both got so busy and kind of cracked on with loads of other things in our lives. It wasn't really ever, and that's why we wanted to do this, because there was no purposeful conversation between the two of us to say, like, we're not going to do the podcast anymore. It just kept being a bit like, we're having a bit of a break, and then it was like, it had been
so long.
so long. And I remember we had a conversation, like, probably around this time last year about bringing it back, but we kind of wanted to rebrand it away from music, potentially. We were both maybe a little bit less enamored with the music scene, and like maybe
I think we
don't know,
lacked
it was so-
inspiration from it. I think
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing. I think like with the festival not really having the results that we wanted to see, and also then following that, we were both busy with work, so we were taking a little bit of a break anyway. And then you kind of got into a space where we were like looking to kind of do stuff in the music space again and kind of get a little bit more out there, whether it be podcast interviews, talk about bands. And there was kind of nothing really happening of note that we wanted to like properly get involved with. So I think we wanted to like rebrand a bit and kind of go a little bit more down the route of just like general podcasts. That's essentially what this was, but with a bit of music on like a musical twist.
Oliver's mate.
Yeah.
But we we just didn't.
Just
It's
never
It's
happened.
one of those things. Then you just don't really talk about it again for like a month, and then it'd be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, we could maybe let's have a think about that, and then it's now.
Yeah,
It's just
and
like it keeps going, and time's just moving so quickly. 'cause
so
everyone's
quick. I
busy.
think like, and work-wise, we're both dead busy. It's all
Yeah.
kind of changed a little bit, and I think like that was the period where when we had that festival, I think we were both at Wits. You'd just come off a Ryder Cup,
Yeah.
and I then flew out 3 days later to LA after the festival. For I went to LA, but yeah, move on. And we did that, and then we kind of all come back, and we were both just dead to the world. Like we were both just knackered. It took a lot out of us. So
Yeah, and then it just
But-
always gets to the point where then it's been so long
yeah,
to relaunch it would have been like, oh, it's kind of been a year, and it just
Yeah.
And so we've kind of just come to the conclusion that we're in very different places in our lives. We started this 5 years ago today.
5
In
years
the
ago
middle of
today, it's
COVID,
crazy.
we both just finished our degrees and had absolutely nothing else to do.
Yeah,
And we did it to fill the void of having nothing to
Nothing
do
to
during COVID. And it obviously became something way bigger and better than we ever thought it could do.
Yeah.
But now we're in a place where we're 25, 26 and have lots of things to do and don't, unfortunately, have the time to record these,
no.
edit them, put them out, promote them, and also literally to like listen to as much music and
That's the
be
main-
as
that's the
involved in
main
the
thing,
scene
yeah.
and like go to as many gigs and all of that sort of stuff. It's all just harder, and we're not really in a place to do it anymore. So
Not really, and I think it's one of them ones that it came with such good stuff that I think it's nice to kind of crack it on its head and just be like, we are closing that chapter for now, and just see if at some point there could be a period of time where we decide to do something else together from a creative aspect. But like right now with the Scratch Record podcast, knock it on the head.
he's in a weird smile.
There won't be anything else.
I was going to make a joke about being porn, but then you really
Oh,
got flow
okay.
states. I was like,
I was
actually, I'm not going
implied.
to interrupt.
Not going to
But-
interrupt.
And then I thought you were thinking the same thing.
No.
No.
Why would I be thinking about porn? Anyway, let's move on.
Normally are probability.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, I guess that's where we're
I
at
guess
with
that's
it.
where we're
That's
at.
kind of the update on that.
I think a big part of it is that is music worse now than it used to be?
I don't think music is worse. I think there's a little bit. One of the things that I've noticed, I have to admit, I've not been listening to as much underground music. Part of the problem. But from my experience with music in the last couple of years, it's just not had as much excitement around it. I think there's been a couple of things that started to like almost trump that from a popularity standpoint. And a lot of the industry seems to be suffering post-COVID now properly. Like there was that big buzz after COVID, which we luckily were kind of involved
21,
in,
22 was like,
was really good.
there's gigs everywhere. Like local venues were starting to do better. Like I think people were just so excited to get out and just say yes to everything and go see new music.
And there was a lot of support from the government as well. The government were
Yeah.
pushing a lot of money towards these things and like doing all the extra like venue trustings where you'll get 2-for-1 tickets and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Got people more into the rooms.
I
And
also think that so many bands and like creative people had a year in lockdown just
To
sat
make stuff.
writing. And
Yeah,
how,
yeah, yeah.
How many bands we interviewed that were like, we have 17 albums worth of songs
Yeah.
because I just sat and wrote. And actually, when you do it that much and then you pick the best ones and release them, there
Yeah.
was like a surge of really, really high quality music coming out.
And they all just, and then also everyone then just toured, and then I think we're on the back end now of just kind of seeing everyone that's kind of toured, people that now have a bit like us now have normal lives and have to kind of knock the band stuff on the head and kind of move forward with it, just to kind of stopping.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the bands that we interviewed that are like on the smaller side, some have done incredibly well, but some we've seen a little, they just don't exist.
It's one of the saddest things we did. We actually did it a while ago, I think. We were going back through our like ultimate playlist that had
Yeah.
like any song we'd ever put in the playlist. We then put in like a big one that's now got like hundreds and hundreds of songs in it. And as you went through, we were like, oh, what are they doing now? And it was like, no music.
No
since
music,
2021.
yeah.
What are they doing now?
annoying.
Oh, they
Breakup
split up 3
announcement.
years ago.
Yeah.
And like, that is just the nature of all of that, it having a boom. And then you say everyone kind of moves on.
Yeah.
And so many of these bands have not been able to keep going. And I also think a little bit, and I think Trips, we spoke about this before, where like the pricing at the top end of music has gone insane.
Yeah.
Like Oasis is a good example, but like everything, like Taylor Swift.
Mm.
I know loads of people actually got Beyonce tickets this week, and they are like
Oh, couple hundred quid.
£600 like to go.
A couple hundred quid just for standardised tickets.
At the same time, tickets at the bottom end haven't actually gone up in real terms.
No.
Or even in actual terms at all for
But I think it's-
decades. Because if they do push them up, people don't go.
People don't
and
go.
it
I think it is.
collapse.
I think it's then widening the gap though.
Yeah.
People are
No, I
going,
think that's-
instead of going to like 1 gig a week in their local venues, they're going to one massive one.
Yeah, every couple of
And
months.
therefore not being able to afford to go out every week and spend, even if it is £7-8, but then buying a couple of pints and spending £25 a week, they go, well, I'm going to not do that and spend 250 quid to go see like a bigger artist.
Yeah.
And that used to be like, literally 2 years ago, they used to be 50 quid.
Yeah, even 70 quid. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
these £200-300 standing tickets are pretty outrageous now.
It's a bit like football.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very similar.
Like no one goes to their local team because they go and spend 70 quid, 80 quid to go watch the Prem team.
It's exactly the same, yeah. And I think it does just kind of put a dampener, especially because that is what Indian alternative music is very much about, is them like smaller gigs. I think that band music stuff that we were involved in is all about that Friday night, small room, dirty floor vibe, which there is still venues like that, but a lot of them are struggling with
Yeah.
like venues like the Lead Mill.
Yeah.
Prime example, one of the best venues in the north of England, like it's seen as being where a lot of people start, and they're now having a big closing down party in the next couple of weeks because they just can't sustain being a venue like that
No.
that just puts on music. So they're now having to really focus on their student nights.
Yeah. To be
Yeah.
fair, it's the same in like the middle level as well. Like bands that are like of a relatively good size. Like there's been a couple of bands, I can't remember who it is, should have looked at before I did it, but have cancelled European tours because they're halfway through it and they're like, we are fucking shitting money out
And
we
can't physically
cannot
do it.
afford. And they're like selling these venues out.
Yeah.
Like it's not like they're not selling the tickets. It's just that the money it makes is not.
Well, it's also the
actually
issue with
sustaining.
there's also the Brexit issue, isn't it? Like that's another thing that's
Kate
happening.
Nash did a good speech on that lately.
Yeah.
Went viral. Yeah, she said she makes money from festivals and then basically pours it all into tours to make an overall loss.
Like
Yeah.
that is a
Terrifying because
she's a famous person. That is not like an up and coming musician. That is someone who's like.
But that's the way that
relatively big
people
in the
used to
scene.
make their money. Used to go on tour to make money.
Yeah,
that was
yeah, exactly.
you don't really
Now it's
make
like the
money in like
reverse.
record sales. That just covers the cost of making the record, and then you end up being in a position where you have to do you have to go through and find money other ways, especially as an upcoming artist. There's no way of really, and I think that's what we kind of saw in the festival was like you just, physically making money on a festival like that is nigh on impossible unless you get one big artist that you can get for pretty cheap. That's then not. That then you can kind of then upsell your tickets to 50, 60 quid for a day.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of being, we sold ours for 20 quid a piece and we didn't have any like big names. We had some really decent sized names, but no real huge like top seller type shit.
And like a lot of the smaller bands that played the festival did it at a loss.
Yeah.
So we were losing money.
They were losing
The
money.
bands were losing money.
Yeah.
So you start to look at it and be like, well, this just doesn't really work. And that's even true of the first festival that did sell out and did do really well.
Yeah.
We still made no money. Like that.
We broke
covered the
even,
cost
flat
of it,
even.
broke even, great. And we only managed to break even because there's so many bands willing to do it where like we are basically covering their travel
Taxi,
costs
yeah.
and a bit of money for some petrol to get down there. And that's it. And they're spending money to come down, buy a couple of drinks and play the festival.
Yeah.
Because they want the exposure and all that, which I get, but you sort of look at it and you're like, no one is winning here,
Yeah.
really.
And I think that makes it tough, doesn't it? Like I think that's one of the things that the music industry I don't think is worse off in some senses because I think there's been a lot of like types of music that are definitely on the up, but I think specifically for like band and alternative / indie music there is like a bit of I feel like it's a lull period. It happens and it'd be interesting to see because there is actually studies that do suggest that there is always a big burst of Indian alternative music during a Conservative government. Interesting statistics for you. But there is a burst if you look at like if you look at the stats. If you look at the stats of like when there's been like bursts of people that are like up and on the scene at like towards the top of the charts, like publicly, you had your early 2000s rush, which is after your like Gordon Brownie type era.
Oh yeah, that famous conservative.
He's not conservative, no, but that era. I'm trying to think of the years, but I don't know the years. But that era, when he then came in, then there was the low period. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same with Maggie Thatcher as well. That was the same sort of situation.
Tony Blair and Gordon Brown's era was like Arctic Monkeys and
That's what I'm saying.
and that whole era. Yeah, that's Labour.
No.
It's not Tories.
Right.
This is why we don't take it too intellectual nor political on this
Nor
podcast,
political, no.
because-
I'm not saying it's... I'm not saying I lead with any side, but I definitely
So
do.
you vote Tory, is what you're saying?
No.
Nah, you voted Reform.
I actually
Yeah,
I
you
do. Ooh, reform, reform.
Oh no! I get what you're saying. There's probably some more
There's
rebellious
more
nature, during
rebellious nature within the alternative
from the
music
more-
scene from the more
creative left-wing side of the country, and more kind of rebellious against the government when there's a Tory government in, which therefore leads to more like music scene,
Yeah.
like, movement type thing. Is that what you meant?
Yes, it is indeed.
Bless you.
No, I've thrown
was
something. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, definitely. That is exactly what I meant.
Fantastic. Well, one thing that has been big for the music scene
Yeah.
that we knew was happening before absolutely anyone else.
Yeah.
Oasis are back.
Oasis. I think that might be our best prediction.
It is quite unbelievable.
I think that's our best prediction yet. You to say in 23 that it be announced for 25
Yeah.
is one of the greater predictions, I think. We've made some outrageous ones, and I know it's throw shit at the wall until something sticks.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
that was actually when we released that episode, I genuinely didn't think it was going to happen
Yeah.
for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
I genuinely didn't think until we were in our 30s that's when maybe we would see a reunion. But for it to be this soon, you're going, aren't you?
I am going. I'm going twice. Yes. I'll be there. Absolutely. I think.
I had a funny thing. I actually had a conversation with my accountant about the Oasis thing
Okay.
because it was around the time. So you know they obviously then surge priced the tickets.
Yes.
I had to have talk with my accountant this year because he said, "Where's this $2,000 gone?" Because I transferred $2,000 from my business account into the personal account just in case I managed to get through, and they were going to be £500 a piece.
Oh my god.
And then I put it back because I didn't get tickets because I
Yeah.
didn't get there. Because by the time I got there, they were like £700 a pop.
I think. I think there's so much to break down with it. I think.
Yeah.
So, firstly, yes, fantastic prediction. And
Yeah,
I would like to back
unbelievable.
myself. It's funny. I actually used the words. We could probably put, if we could be bothered editing wise, put a little bit in of what was actually said.
Yeah, I
But
will.
I said.
If I can find the raw footage.
I'm pretty sure it is confirmed for 2025. I was like, it's done.
That
It
is
in for
mental.
2025. I said there's going to be no new music. It will just be some like big shows. It won't be like loads and loads of shows. It will be like 10 big ones.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. The only thing I said was that it would be at the Etihad because they've expanded it. And
Yeah.
it's obviously not. So that is a bit of a shame. It would have been a hard call to say they'll do Wembley and Heaton Park, but if they did, like, absolutely bang on. So we'll take it. It
I'll
took
take the prediction.
101 episodes, I think, but we got something right.
We got something right.
Bang on.
We did get
Which is
something
great.
right. Yeah. There's a
Um,
couple of things we definitely got wrong though.
And most things.
Yeah.
Dolly Parton's not dead.
No, my worst one. I think I will hold my hands up.
Yep.
The Who would be in prison. We were just checking before about what predictions we made in that episode.
Yeah.
And I did guess that Liam Payne would be in prison.
Yeah. In a certain type of prison, I guess you could argue.
Eternal prison.
Is that staying in?
We'll find out. Yeah, that's either been beeped. That's either been bleeped or cut out, but the reaction can stay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not a great prediction, but Oasis are back, yeah.
Oasis back.
Oasis. Elton John's still alive as well.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Poor bloke.
The pricing thing on Oasis has complete and utterly taken the shine and excitement off it, I think, for the nation.
I can lean to agree. I think it's going to obviously be incredible. I think it'll be one of the musical returns that people will discuss for a long while. Like it's when the Stones came back, but they were too old. This is like they're still able to perform their songs to a decent level.
Hopefully.
Fingers
Yeah, 'cause
crossed
that's-
until they have a big punch up on the first gig.
Yeah, concern number one, they'll fall out. Concern number two, as I think we said in that predictions bit, like Liam has famously struggled a little bit with the quality
Voice.
of his voice and
Yeah.
how it's going to be. Noel will be Noel. Like,
Noel will be
he'll
fine.
be absolutely fine. But I
It'll
think,
just tick along.
yeah, Liam's a little bit of a concern into how good he'll sound, which is why I think it's good to see them as early as possible. By
Physically
the
as
time they're
early as
out in
possible.
like doing the South America dates, like
Yeah,
6
yeah,
months
yeah,
later,
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
be a little bit concerned about how they're going to sound. But
Yeah.
I think they will be unbelievable. I am really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Like we said at the time, like one of the most iconic and one of my favourite bands of all time. I think
I think it's incredible.
they'll be brilliant. Yes,
Talk
should
about
be.
the pricing. I saw recently there was something about you have to like make yourself known if you want to stand near the front. What's
Really?
that about?
I have absolutely no idea.
Oh, okay. There was something about, as well as the dynamic pricing, you had to go on before a certain date and like vote if you wanted to be near the front, and then that would enter you into a ballot to be let in the front half of the stadium,
I
even though
don't
you've
know.
got the same ticket.
That
Very,
is
it's
mental.
very possibly. I have absolutely no idea.
You got to pay an
about
extra
that, but it's very
£300 to do that.
I think the main issue, what they basically said
Fucking hell,
was
Joe.
that what the
Scratch
Shut
record.
up. Get away with it if you say it was a scratch record noise.
What do you think it was?
Oh, not gonna say. They are sort of basically saying they had no idea,
Yeah,
and if that's true,
I can see them missing an email.
I can see them, the two of them, not being remotely involved
Yeah, I agree.
in any conversation
Yeah.
about where it's going to be, when it's going to be, how much tickets are going to cost. They do not get involved in that sort of
No.
side of things, I would imagine. I think it's a management thing
Yeah.
to deal with those decisions. I can't believe that a management would then act on that and not tell them. But that seems to be... It was the corporates that made that decision without the band really knowing. Now, I still think they have an element of responsibility to know.
I read that I don't know how actually true this is, but I read that Ticketmaster obviously do it. That's
Yeah.
a thing that they've bought in the same way that Uber do it. So obviously the band will get more money, but anything that's on the surge price over, it's then a higher cut to Ticketmaster.
Yeah, I wouldn't
I
be
read that it was a
surprised.
bit like the Uber surge, that then Uber then gets a bigger proportion of that part of the earnings, which I can see it being a thing that's like literally on a contract of a tick box, and it's almost like, you know, when like you opt in for terms and conditions,
Yeah.
like please tick this if you, and that every single one you pick is different.
Yeah.
And it's like opt in for email marketing services or something like that. And one time you got to click the box, one time you haven't got to click the box. And I can imagine it's very similar like that. And they've just not almost like ticked the box
Yeah,
to
they
opt out
haven't
of
opted
surge
out.
pricing.
But you have a sense of responsibility
Well, that's the
to,
point- that's the
to
point
do
of
that correctly, and
legal,
like
yeah.
you should know that, and they should have been more involved, and they've always been.
But they won't ever be. They're never going to be involved with their
But
ticket
they should.
situation
They could have said
now.
to management or whatever. They could have said, we as a band want the pricing to be affordable, and as a part of that, that is then saying to them
But also,
it needs to be contained. As a band that has always been about the people,
Yeah,
about
yeah,
the working
yeah, yeah,
class,
yeah. I
come
can
from
see
nothing,
that.
they should be saying they're not going to be a fucking tenner, but they should say like, we don't care what the numbers are, whatever it needs to be, but you need to have the fans' best interests at heart.
Yeah.
And I think if they'd have pushed that message, this wouldn't have happened. And actually,
Yeah.
they've gone, we don't give a fuck. Realistically, we need to make loads of money. And
I think there's been. I think also, if I was in that situation,
Mhm. You'd be dead.
I would be so dead,
Yeah.
so dead, so dead. No, if I was in that situation, I think it'd be a really hard sell for me to then say I don't want to earn double the amount of money on the tour.
Would
If even if it's another like, because it's not just like earning an extra £100,000, couple $100,000. You are that's off of like such a small proportion of tickets. You're doubling the ticket prices as a minimum.
yeah.
That is mental. It's a hard no, but it's a hard no
But would
to
you
say.
like in the festival if we went? Oh well, we could realistically try and rinse people for like 50 quid. We'd make double, but people would have, people would be getting absolutely ripped off.
I
at the
think
centre.
if we
wouldn't
were
have done
guaranteeing a sellout,
it. Yeah,
I would. No, you
No.
are right. I think what I would do is
you'd keep it reasonable. It's supply and demand. I get it. They can charge so much money because it was the most in demand tour of all time. But
what I would do though is I would do a higher value ticket and just give them a shitty t-shirt.
all they had to do is
If I'm honest,
yeah,
I'd,
but-
I'd make a load of t-shirts £5 a piece and I'd charge an extra 50 quid a ticket.
yeah, and that's fine. It would have been fine if they just said the ticket's £500.
Yeah, just flat rate.
They're
that
all
was what it
£500.
was. Yeah.
If you want to come,
it's 500 quid.
it's £500.
Yeah.
Yes, they would have got absolutely fucking slated still. It's still unethical, but at least they're just going, the demand's there. It's going to sell anyway.
Yeah.
So we're rinsing everybody. That would have been fine. It was they're 150 quid released in advance. That's how much they're going to be. People waited in queues for 6 hours, got through, and the excitement of that was then you're in and you're like, oh my God, I get tickets. And they're now £600.
I dead
That's
seriously
not-
sat up I had 4 things going at once. I had 2 laptops, my PC and my phone all in queues. on different dates, on different ones, and the only one I got through, they were on like a 4 or 5 times surge charge at about midday for In the Gods, and they were £750
Yeah,
fees.
that's just.
And I was like,
insane.
I ain't doing that. As much as I'd like kind of sorted the money out to be like, right, I was like, in my head, I was like, I could spend £2,000. When I saw the surge charges, I was like, right, I'm getting 4 tickets, I could spend £2,000. That's what I've got. And I was like, I'm definitely not getting 2 tickets.
No.
That's mental.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be one of the greatest like spoken about events,
Yeah.
Tours in history.
And what I will say is, it proved they could do it properly, because one of the ones I got tickets to was the extra dates at Wembley they released.
Yeah.
And what they did was they emailed anyone who was in a queue
Yeah.
but didn't get a ticket. So
didn't
people
get
who had
that email.
tried and didn't get a ticket got an email. You then went into another ballot. They then gave you a set time you had to log into, and they split the amount of people up into different time slots. So it
Yeah.
said, right, your time is midday or whatever it was. You then have a certain amount of time to go in and buy the ticket.
Yeah,
so you
yeah, yeah.
don't have these queues for hours on end. You got straight in. And the tickets were not dynamically priced. They were just capped at the price. Yeah, they were 150 quid straight in.
I think
So they did it. That is them basically saying, in hindsight,
that was a shit idea.
we are capable of delivering it properly. We didn't think about this stuff.
Yeah,
Like, it
I think to be
wasn't
fair,
thought
like
out.
Ticketmaster, I think it's one of them things that Ticketmaster has put a queue in place like that, a surge charge in place like that, and it has an algorithm that builds to a certain point, but there's no limit to the build. So they will just have it as like a surge charge, and this will be the biggest selling one that they tested that system on. I think this will be the first one they tested that system on, and the system just didn't work. Because even like when it goes to like Taylor Swift and stuff like that, there's more people on there. I think they were just like, we'll test this process now. This will be like the biggest thing we can test it on. Let's run the process.
I don't think they would you test anything on
But
that.
this is what I mean. I don't think they. No, but I don't think they had tested it prior. I think this is like they tested it prior on like something that was like a couple of Wembley gigs sort of thing. There was like an event of that
Yeah.
magnitude. But then the surge charge only ever got to 2 times sort of thing. Whereas this one, the magnitude was so big.
But it wasn't. It was the demand was exactly as was predicted. It wasn't an unexpected. demand.
Absolutely,
It
but I
was
think
exactly
maybe
what they thought.
but they bottleneck their services as well. I think
That-
that was just a Ticketmaster server issues as well.
But you
They
can't
just
like
fucking
that's what I
shit.
mean. You don't like they're the
Any-
best in the business to do it. So
Yeah.
again, it's on them. I don't think there was anything like. I think it's completely planned. I just
Yeah.
think it was a miscommunication. I think Ticketmaster were like, you didn't say you didn't want to do it, and
Absolutely.
they were like, we didn't really know it was going to happen, and
Like
so
that as well, yeah.
and we didn't know to what extent it would get to, and it was
I
just a bit
think-
like, well, you know, that this is what it is. So it's
Yeah.
it's fine, but it's just a little bit of a shame to me that so much focus has been on that now,
Yeah.
rightly so. When actually it should just be a thing that everyone's like
This is
really
fucking
excited
sick.
for.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah,
sick,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
a huge event in British culture, and everyone should just
I
be
think
going.
in
"This is really
music
cool."
history, genuinely, like
course
not
it's-
even like taking like not even like hyping it up like for a bit. More the actual fact in music history, there hasn't been a band of that magnitude that has come back and done a tour like that with such like opposing
Such anticipation. on
yeah,
it.
and also we're like such like conflicting like reasons to why they wouldn't do it.
Mm.
Like it's such a major thing, and there was almost like they were still even fucking battering each other back and forth on Twitter like 6 months prior.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it was all of a sudden, and it was like, yeah, I think that's what makes it so exciting. I think it's really, 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 really interesting. But
They're gonna be good. I hope they deliver a good like gig.
package.
and
Have they
everything.
announced any like of the pre-game warm up?
The supports
Yeah.
Richard Ashcroft.
No.
That's good. Oh, you boo. That'd be fucking. I've seen him before. He's unbelievable.
Oh, it's boring.
Yeah, no, not for me. Not for me.
I don't know if they'll then presumably maybe have like 1 or 2 before that of like smaller ones, but I don't know if they will.
Yeah, I can't see them doing it.
I think that would be pretty much it. Rich Ashcroft's great. Like, it's never gonna be. They're never gonna have like what people want, which is like a Kasabian or a Blossoms or something. because
I'm surprised Blossoms aren't doing it though. I am
they-
surprised with
they-
that.
They like Oasis are not. They're not gonna want that. Like they just want to warm the crowd up. They don't want someone to come on that's gonna be good.
They had them do the announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's different to having them
No,
play
I agree.
before.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right. I just think they're going to be like, we want someone to warm them up.
Yeah, just a little bit of
Again, and it's all a bit of a boys' club, isn't it? Like he's their mate, and they'll just be like, yeah, come do it.
I think it'll be
Sound.
good fun. It's gonna be good fucking gigs.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Good
But
gigs, good gigs. There's not been loads else really from a current music
No.
situation happened in In our eyes.
No, not really. Not that we've seen. I
Chris
think-
Martin rumoured did cheat on his missus, like I said. yesterday.
Yeah, one of the best predictions.
One of the best
was out there.
predictions who ever made. Chris Martin cheat on his missus. Apparently.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. We're
It
not
is very
100% sure
alleged.
the accuracy
Apparently
of
she was
that,
an
but-
Italian model.
Which one? Current
Chris
or-
Martin.
Shall we do a conspiracy theory?
Yeah, I think we should. A little bit of a throwback. That was a fan favourite.
Yeah, we that was one of the favourite episodes from series 1.
Yeah,
pretty
back in the
much.
day.
Maybe like series 2, we used to do a few conspiracy theories and they went down very well. So we thought as a little throwback.
As a little throwback, we get a conspiracy theory ready.
Do you want to go first?
I will happily go first.
Okay.
So, my conspiracy theory,
Mm.
as we've obviously done quite a lot already, it's not alternative music based,
Okay.
but it is music based because we've already fucking ruined all the other ones.
Yes, fine.
So, Lady Gaga
Yeah.
murdered
Okay.
a woman called Lena Morgana.
Oh, this feels like we're getting into some dodgy.
She from Merlin.
She was from Merlin, yeah.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was a magician.
She was a witch.
Ah, Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah, was it magicians in Merlin?
Yeah, they're magicians.
Rabbit out of a hat.
What was it? Oh, he's a wizard.
Yeah.
A wizard. You're a wizard, Harry.
Magicians is more like card tricks at a wedding. Not got that very well in Merlin.
Get your wand out, Harry. Show us
Oh.
it. Oh.
Okay, so, wait, sorry. This woman is an actress.
No.
from Merlin.
This woman is a musician. Not from Merlin. She's not actually from Merlin.
Why are we talking about Merlin?
Because I think Morgana has something to do with Merlin. It's something like the dragon or some shit, isn't it?
She was a witch. She was the.
Oh,
she was
Morgana
a
was
magician.
wizard.
Oh, magician.
Stop saying magician.
Anyway, Lena Morgana. She was a rising pop rock artist signed to Sony. She was talented, edgy, and had a strong artistic identity. In 2008, Lena died after falling from a 10-story hotel building. It was ruled a suicide. But here's where the conspiracy theory starts, ladies and gentlemen. Lady Gaga adopted Lena's persona. That was the whole idea. So the whole theory is essentially this woman died. She was one of the
Yep.
collaborators in the situation while Lady Gaga.
Lady,
I think I'm having a
lady.
I think I'm having a stroke.
We haven't done this in a
Call
long
the
time.
ambulance.
We haven't done this in a long time, so bear with Elliot because he can't speak.
I can't speak. Essentially, Lady Gaga was a writer, and she was like one of the collaborators.
She was a
with
musician.
This... Yeah, writer, like a musical writer.
Okay,
She helped write songs.
makes it sound like
They
she's
had a
awful.
collab. They were collaborators within the space.
Right.
Her and Lena.
Yeah.
Lena died mysteriously, essentially
She fell off a building.
falling off of a 10-story building.
Got it.
Lena's mother has said in the past, Lady Gaga is holding on to Lena's soul and I want her to let it go. She's saying that the artistic direction that Lena was taking
Yeah.
has been adopted by Lady Gaga post her death.
Right.
They were collaborative writers, they knew each other quite well. There's more things to it, really. Gaga was obviously he's always been very linked to the, Satanism-y type side of things.
Has she?
Yeah, she's very much been involved in that big conspiracy theory about
Illuminati.
Illuminati type shit.
Okay.
There's always been lots of stuff around there, and there's a lot of stuff in symbolism and cryptic lyrics that people are saying they could be a bit of a wink to an industry sacrifice.
A wink.
A wink. A wicked witch.
Okay.
And then there's not many of Lena's demos that are about that's easy to find. There's a lot being said that there's actually a hole in the industry hiding these demos of this Lena, who was a collaborator, and a lot of them were written by Lady Gaga or with Lady Gaga.
Right.
Some people are saying that the hotel fall
Yeah.
is more than a suicide, and potentially it being hinted at it being obviously an industry related foul play. There's also suggestions that even the hotel is suggesting that there might be more to the story.
Interesting.
So it's a bit of a it's a broad one. It's
So
a rogue one.
You think
but-
that Lady Gaga put a hit out, or she actually did the pushing?
Well, I don't know the ins and outs. I wasn't there I
Put a fucking name on it.
wasn't
Did she push her?
I would rather not say. Because
What if the men with guns came and you have to give an
Yeah.
answer?
the men
you
with
had to.
guns,
The men with guns
the men
come.
with guns came, I would say I'm on their side. I don't mess with the Illuminati, man.
They gun to your head. You don't know what side they're on. They're like, did she or didn't she?
I
Did she?
don't-
Ellie,
I-
did she or not?
I don't think she did.
Brilliant.
But I think the conspiracy theory is interesting. I don't think she did. I don't think she did murder someone who was in her sphere. I think it's the creative industry. She could have fucking jumped. Game's a game.
Is she still the creative director of Polaroid?
Gaga? What does Gaga know about cameras?
I like some of her music.
Yeah.
About cameras.
Gaga.
Yeah, interesting.
I think it's one of the better ones.
No,
No?
No.
I think it is. Someone actually died. It's not like Paul McCartney might be
but
dead.
there seems to be little to no actual reason or evidence that Lady Gaga pushed her off a building. It's-
I think you might find.
That was. It seems to be more this lady fell and she collaborated.
With Gaga. And Gaga adopted her persona.
Barcelona.
Barcelona. I don't know why that Barcelona and that. Yes, I think.
What do you mean she adopted her persona though?
So they have a very. Now they say that
they're just two similar people.
they're just very, very similar people. Like the
Right.
way that she is the way that Lady Gaga is very similar to how Lena would hold herself. And her mum, Lena's mum, even said that. Like Lena's mum has come out and said that she is like almost taking her
Soul.
personality. Yeah, her soul. That's literally word for word, according to ChatGPT. That Lady Gaga is holding Lena's soul and I want her to let it go. She's like holding on to this personality that Lena had. And it is now being portrayed to us as the public as Lady Gaga. And this Lena was sacrificed by the
Gonna
higher
sacrifice
powers.
himself.
Oh, Graham!
Okay, good. Trips and Chris, can you give a final rating on whether you think?
Yeah, I
that's true or
want
not,
1 to
please?
10. 10 she did it, 1 she didn't.
What does that mean?
You decide.
Yeah, do you think she did it?
I'm going to give it like a 2.
Yeah, fair. That's
Fine.
Fair.
I'm like 1.5.
Right.
I think
It's
the
not.
Illuminati stuff's quite interesting.
It's not.
I do.
Was this pre or post meat dress?
Pre.
So Lena wore meat dresses.
Yeah.
Lena
that's-
was 2008. That's time ago.
That is
Wow, yeah.
indeed time ago.
That's
Let's
a long,
test your knowledge.
long
When
while
was
ago.
the meat dress?
It was what?
When was meat dress?
Meat dress, I bet, was 2016.
That
it's
is no
20
basis.
It was 2010.
When
Was it?
did was it
Yep.
that early?
Yep.
2010.
It was at the MTV Video Music Awards.
In 2010.
Yep.
Lady Gaga. How old were we?
10.
We would have been 12.
We were
then.
10.
No, we would have been 12.
No, it wouldn't.
We would have been.
Was it before
We would have been
August?
10
Okay,
or
I would have
11.
been 11 and a half. 11 and 9
I
months.
remember that happen. I remember that being a thing though.
You were 10.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I was 10. I wouldn't have been
when you
into
were
pop
10.
fucking culture.
Not fucking culture, no. Pop culture, maybe.
That's what I said.
You put fucking in the middle, which was
Alright.
quite frankly unnecessary.
I do apologise.
You say you don't remember
You
anything
remember
if you
that
were
was
10.
you'd been in year
No,
six.
I remember, but I don't think why would I have been conscious of pop culture?
I remember Michael Jackson dying,
I remember Michael Jackson dying
and I remember Obama becoming president. They're both 2008.
I remember Michael Jackson dying. I remember,
Thank you.
and the reason I remember that is because we
You
all got
killed
sa-
him.
Yeah, it was me. Take this.
Oh, this is such bollocks.
I do remember that happening because we had a really weird head teacher that used to collect frog sculptures, and not just like a couple. As in, you walked into her office, she had hundreds of them. She used to make us do a barn dance to the Doctor Who intro theme. Just a little bit of lore for you all.
What?
Like a full-blown barn dance. The whole school had to learn
Sorry,
it.
get
and at
up.
school distance. No, I don't know. I don't know it now. I was like up to the age of 11. And I remember she sat us all down and was like almost crying.
Oh.
Really weird. But yeah, moving on. What's your conspiracy theory?
I've got a couple of like quite almost quick fiery ones.
Go on then. Hit me with it.
One of the favourite ones that I've seen.
Yep.
Taylor Swift does not have a belly button.
Well, she does. I've seen it.
She doesn't, and you
I've
haven't.
seen it.
There's very, very little images.
Does Taylor Swift have a belly button? ChatGPT.
I love it. I love it.
I love it.
Worst
Only belly
type
button.
of person.
Why have you got to speak? It would take you 3 seconds. To type
Yes,
it.
Taylor Swift does have a belly button. In the past, she's often wore outfits that covered it, which lead to some playful media attention.
She doesn't have one.
Wow.
Yeah. So she
That
wears
feels like
a
a
lot
weird
of.
Google picture.
She wears a lot of very high-waisted trousers or like full bodysuit outfits. She incredibly rarely ever wears anything showing her belly button. And
She's
so,
quite religious, though, isn't she?
is she?
Yeah.
Ask it.
ChatGPT, is Taylor Swift religious?
Is-
If you haven't noticed,
At least we've got the title of the video sorted.
Oh, have we?
Is Taylor Swift religious? Question mark, exclamation mark.
She's
Gone wrong.
identified as Christian.
Right.
So maybe she just don't want to get a fucking belly out.
Along with 2 billion other people. That doesn't make her like extremely religious.
I didn't.
I don't think it's
I
too
didn't
men's
put
place
extreme
to judge a woman's clothing and religion.
I'm not judging it, but
No,
she
well,
doesn't
I
have
ain't
a belly
judging it. I'm
button,
just
you don't think
stating
that's
facts.
interesting?
Pictures of Taylor Swift's belly button.
I'm not saying whether it's good or bad that she hasn't got one, but she hasn't got one.
Yeah, it doesn't look real
Do you
either.
think it's good or bad?
See?
Yeah, it looks like it's AI'd on.
Is it an innie or an outie?
Oh, can't talk about that. She's a real person, Chris. You're a married man now.
It's neither because she doesn't have one.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So
So just the fact there's not many pictures of it.
it just doesn't exist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
You like that?
Yeah, I like that. It's a good one.
Uh,
Ratings, lads?
0.
What do you mean 0?
Well, she definitely has a belly
Well,
button.
yeah,
She objectively doesn't.
it's a biological impossibility.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's not.
Sarah Jane Adventures.
Yeah, facts. She died of cancer.
Did she?
Yeah, she
Oh,
did.
that's sad. I didn't know that.
Anyway,
Oh. It also wasn't her that didn't have a belly button, it was her son.
Yeah, it just fell out my mouth. I'm sorry.
Kanye West is a clone. Apparently, in 2016, when he was hospitalised due to his temporary psychosis, he was replaced with a clone.
temporary.
Now,
I think if that's true,
Yes.
that close fucked up.
there's loads of evidence that we could chat through. Blah blah. He looks a bit different. There's like comparisons of his face changing around that time,
I
Um,
can see the change in the face.
and all this sort of stuff.
That's just called Botox.
Yeah, I just think it's.
But
I
that's
think
just a bit odd that his face. He'd go into hospital for psychosis and then come out with a different face.
Yeah, but then you've got to think there's a lot of things that are linked with facial swelling and things like that.
Facial. I didn't think facial swelling would be a topic of this podcast. But I'm glad it is.
Yeah,
I'd Um,
say so. Yeah.
I think the worrying
You're
thing.
gonna answer the phone then. Hello.
Bear with me. The worrying thing about this is, before spending too much time on whether we think this is actually true or not,
If they
his
have-
clone's gone mental.
his clone's gone, if anything, worse than what he was before he went in with
what was-
psychosis.
If they took him and went, no, psychosis,
This guy's better.
we need to send a clone out because the real Kanye West is gone a little bit too crazy. This one's gone a million times worse. That is a huge problem.
That is a huge problem. If that is the case, if that is single-handedly the case of what's happened,
The clone has lost.
the clone
it.
has lost his
Lost
mind.
the plot.
Lost his
Yeah.
mind.
and-
That's why he's going under Ye, because he wants his own self-identity.
Yeah, maybe it's a bit Terminator vibes.
Yeah.
It's like taking over.
Have you heard any of his music recently?
ever?
No, recently.
Have I heard of his music?
I don't want to
No, I
discuss the
haven't.
one that the main one that he's now changed the lyrics to Hallelujah.
Sorry.
The one that he changed the lyrics to one that
Sorry,
he
give it
changed-
one more go.
The one that he changed the chorus to Hallelujah.
Okay, what was it before?
I
I actually don't know about this.
not.
I don't.
I don't want to say it out loud.
We all of a
Uh,
sudden.
it's a celebration of a man in the 1940s that ran a country in
Churchill.
Europe. No, in a bad country.
A bad country.
Yeah, the man
don't
with
think
the
we
man
can
with a
describe it
the
as
man
a
that looked
bad
a bit like
country.
Charlie Chaplin, but did worse things.
Right.
Him,
Yeah.
and it's the term that you use to salute to said man.
Yeah.
which you do use.
Oh yeah, which is your favourite term.
Yeah. Correct.
That was the title of the song.
Okay.
And that was also the chorus.
Right.
To salute to Charlie Chaplin's lookalike. And he's now changed that to Hallelujah.
Right.
Because it's obviously same syllables and stuff. And obviously it sounds obviously much better because
Right.
everyone wouldn't post it on their platform. So like SoundCloud pulled it down, Spotify pulled it down, obviously, because it was terrible.
Yeah.
But he's now obviously changed music. Didn't know whether you heard about it. Clearly not.
I
he
actually
then
haven't heard
He
that.
then also released a song called Cousins, which I can talk about a little bit more clearly, where he's talking about sucking off his cousin.
Yeah. So
Pretty
let's
mental. So if his clone has happened,
move on.
nutter.
His clone is mental.
Mental.
Yeah.
I think that if the last 6 months hadn't have happened, if
Do
the
you not think
last...
that's even more likely that it's
two-
a clone and it's gone mental?
Mm. But if they
If
have
anything,
that
I
much
think that
power
makes it
to
more
put
likely
a
it's a
clone
clone.
in, because a lot of people do say there is a big difference between him
Yeah,
post 2018,
clone
potentially.
Clone Wars. That's surely better than Belly Button then?
It can't be fucking.
I-
It can't be low. It can't be higher than fucking.
I'm rating it very lowly, but above belly button.
Yeah.
Lower than Gaga.
It's
Gaga.
about nipple.
Lower than Gaga.
Nipple. You'd say it's nipple. So on the
I'm gonna give
scale,
it a 1.
if the scale is belly button is at the bottom, forehead's at the top, where are you?
Well, I don't want to burst the bubble, but I think it's just mental illness, isn't it? It's not a clone.
If it is cloning,
Cut it
then-
out if you don't like it.
No, I'm
gonna
not
give
cutting
a
it
1.
out. But we're not here to actually discuss real things. Obviously, we're talking about belly buttons.
I'm giving it a 1.
Obviously, it's mental
You asked
illness.
my opinion, I'm giving it a 1.
Giving it a 1.
Yeah.
So where is that from belly button to forehead?
Belly button was 0, that's a 1, the other one was a 2.
So where's 1?
Like
I want the
ab.
body part.
What?
Ab.
Jimmy has no idea what he's talking
Bless
about.
him, Chris.
I said nipple.
Oh, it's like
Nipple's
a 3.
pretty
Slightly,
good.
no, slightly below nipple.
Like a
Bottom of rib cage.
Sternums at your
like
sternum?
a like a what's where you punch it and it wins you.
Stomach.
It's the- yeah.
Nah, it's like
It's
it's like the
where
big.
your
Like a
ribs end.
sternum.
Yeah, where your ribs end.
Got to keep
Fine.
saying sternum until someone responds to me.
Um,
Okay,
so lower than my
yeah.
Gaga's better. Gaga.
it's a load of
No.
shit. Last one. Some conspiracy theorists believe that major record labels are partnering with shadowy tech organizations and are secretly using advanced AI algorithms to write lyrics, melodies, and entire tracks that are now popular in music.
I think that's true. I think that is. I think that's 10. I think that is true.
They are basically creating these based on algorithms that take things that are like addictive to the human brain, certain like beats, certain paces. They're creating the music, and then they're almost then like applying those
Well, that's all
to
the-
popular artists that are just singing them.
That is all that was happening in like 90s garage and techno.
It wasn't
that-
AI.
No, it wasn't AI at the time, but they were creating music at a certain BPM because it released a certain chemical in psychological studies. So that's
Yeah.
the reason that they did it then. So I wouldn't be surprised if now the computers have.
But it's more that this is record labels and like dodgy tech organizations that are doing it, and basically saying that like almost everyone is an industry plant.
Yeah.
No one's writing their own music.
I wouldn't say no one. I'd say that there is
In
a
pop, like big pop culture artists, i.e., a Sabrina Carpenter.
I don't think Sabrina Carpenter writes her own music or a lot of it. I think she has input. I think they have a lot of writers that work on her music, but I don't think that's AI. And I also would say I'd lean to say Olivia Rodrigo's also not AI because there's a lot of variance in her most recent albums. But Fighter Jet.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow. But I think that maybe you could lean like a Charlie XCX could be AI.
Mm.
That build, that sort of structure of music could be a lot more technologically advanced.
His face is more entertaining than the actual podcast.
I
We
would
really
like-
needed a camera on.
I
it.
would like to say that is the case.
Okay, so let's take
but-
it a step further. Then let's assume that is the case. Is that an issue? Does that actually matter? If we're saying that the music's being written by the record labels and by AI, and then they are using like synthetic celebrities and industry plants to push that out to people to make them loads of money. Let's say that's true. Does that actually matter?
Does it actually matter? Is a really good question.
Because ultimately,
Yes.
people are then enjoying it because it's been artificially created to match exactly what your brain enjoys and is catchy, and they're therefore streaming it, buying it, going to see them live.
I think it matters. I think there is industry plants that happen anyway. I think that's a
Yeah.
thing that happens, and I think there is a lot of people that just sing written music. I think that's just a thing. That is just what happens. The fact that it is AI technology, I think that is a bigger problem when it comes to I don't think it's a problem like ethically. Like I think it's still ethical, but I don't think like using it is bad. I think the problem is ethically it's when the future of music happens, there will not be younger people that will be able to get into the industry because that will become an industry standard. That's something that I'm like, it's not objectively wrong in the sense of the thing is wrong. I think the
outcome's worse than the actual thing.
the sociological elements that happen in the future due to it is what I think is wrong.
Yeah, it all kind of ties back into if that's the case, and that's all obviously more popular
Yeah.
because it's being AI generated to be popular.
Yeah.
It's harder for actual creatives that write their own music to become popular.
Yeah.
And that gap's getting bigger, like we said before, where people are spending more money because it's more expensive to go and do that than to go and see real bands playing real music
Yeah.
in local venues, and it all kind of spills into the same thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Interesting. Okay, so we've got a couple of foreheads.
What?
Put that arm down.
Dear Lord, not this early on.
Rate that one out of 10.
Do what to it?
That one, we both said yes, it's happening. So
Fine,
it's like
10.
a 10, isn't it?
So I win.
It's likely that's happening, not on a huge scale. But
No.
Yeah, well, I think it's a thing that is going on. I don't think necessarily like the bigger artists are doing it, but I would say
I think they're using AI to write songs.
So I,
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
so I
definitely.
win.
Yeah, that one wins.
It's not really conspiracy.
That
theory,
one
it's
wins
true.
on plausibility.
Fantastic. So
But
it's AI
Gaga.
into Gaga, into
Into
Kanye
Milan.
Kanye is a clone, into Belly Button.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay,
Good work.
That was good.
Great work, team.
I enjoyed that. Okay, we wanted to run through a little bit of a like reminisce and a look back over the last 5 years
Yeah.
of the Scratch Record podcast. As part of it, we have obviously been shouting out artists and pushing smaller bands every week throughout that time. And
Yeah,
so we
yeah,
wanted to have a
yeah.
little look back and have a few like best and worst predictions in that time.
Yeah.
Have you got anything you want to?
I
throw out
think
there?
we have a couple that are very like clear winners.
Okay,
I
go
think
on.
if we were making it a race, I think our crawlers prediction
Yes.
might be one of the greater statements I have ever made. Now, of everything I've ever said, I'll hand on heart say that is probably my favourite thing I've ever come up with. Whatever shite has come out of my gob.
Okay, tell the people what did you
Oh
say?
yeah, so when Crawlers released a song called Placebo in 2020, I imagine it probably
2021
was
maybe?
2021. I said that they were going to be enormous. It was only their second single, and they were kind of untouched at this point. And it was like they were a very small, like 5k, 10k monthly listeners, and we found them through that, shouted them out, got them on the podcast, did all that shit.
It was 2020.
2020, and
April
now
2020.
yeah, which is
Insane.
mental. That's like second, third episode.
Yeah, that would have been that's before the podcast started, so it would have been like second, third episode we spoke about it definitely.
Yeah, which is absolutely insane.
And they have gone on to become
Signed to massive labels, huge band. I think
Yeah.
they're incredible. I think they're one of the greatest things that we've ever like witnessed.
Oh, I didn't actually realise they released an album last year. I was looking at it earlier.
Yeah, I'll be
I need
honest,
to listen to it.
me neither. But nonetheless,
Nonetheless,
I think that is one of our
definitely-
success stories.
definitely one of our success stories. Probably one of the biggest, like, in terms of actual difference between number of monthly listeners when we shouted them out to their peak.
Yeah.
Must be the highest. I mean, they had
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
millions at one
massively.
point, and as you said, literally less than 5k when we shouted them out. So
Yeah, which is insane.
That
I
is
think
pretty
that's-
unbelievable.
I think that's a good one. I think that's one of our better pools.
yeah,
I'd like to say Stone was there as well. That's
Yeah.
in the mix.
Yeah.
I think they're obviously also doing incredibly well. And I think we were on
we're
them
pretty
early
early
as
on them.
well.
We were.
Have you got any?
I've got a couple. I think
Hey, you gotta go.
Latham's is always my one that I go to.
Yeah, love them.
By the time we'd spoken about them on the podcast, they were a little bit bigger, but I had been literally speaking about them from their very first single they put out
Yeah.
and have like the first CD they've ever done, where there's only like 50 of them
Yeah.
and all this sort of stuff, like right on it. And we then did speak about them in like the second episode and have been speaking about them the whole time. And they've gone on to be like arguably one of the best bands in this country of the last couple of years. Like,
Yeah. Oh
they
god.
are
Yeah.
absolutely unbelievable.
Especially in that style of like indie music,
Yeah.
like not into like the alternative side of things, like
Yeah.
straight up and down indie
And-
music.
I've never have since had one where you listen to like a band that has a few thousand monthly listeners and they release a single that was so obvious to me. Like as soon as you listen to The Great Escape, it was like, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, they will be brilliant.
They will be
It
unbelievable.
was so undeniable. There's so many that you hear and you go back and listen to their old stuff and you're like, oh, there's signs of it. Now they've got big. You're like, yeah, you can kind of see it. But at the time, it would have been quite difficult. But that was like, yeah, they'll be brilliant.
Yeah,
Like,
they're going to be
nailed
top
at the
notch.
beginning
They
of
are
the
killing
album,
it as well. They are crushing.
Yeah, well, I got Panic Shack
Panic Shack's a good one.
because again, there was like absolute like first single. You
Oh
found
my
them.
god, when we shouted them out, that first track, which one was it we first shouted out? I can't remember whether it was Where Is My Lighter or
Whatever was first, I think, because it was so.
yeah, it was
early on.
well early doors, wasn't it?
I remember you being uncontrollably excited about it.
Oh, they were so good. They still are. I tell you what, still one of the best bands I've ever seen live
good
in
live.
that space specifically. Like punky wise, they are the fact they do a dance routine
Yeah.
is one
So
of the
good.
greatest things I've ever seen. Like a proper routine is hilarious.
Yeah, it genuinely so good. They're so good live.
Yeah,
They
one
have
of the best
actually,
bands I've seen live.
Pushed on massively as well, like
Yeah.
in terms of their music, and they've got an album coming out this year.
Oh, banging.
They've got 150,000 monthly listeners.
Have
now.
they actually?
Yeah, they're
Oh my
they're like
God.
they are big now.
Wow.
They're doing really well, and they've got an album coming out this year. And I think there's a good chance that when that comes out,
It's gonna be huge.
they could go like massive.
Yeah.
So they've already, I think that's one of the best calls from where
Yeah.
they were to where they are now. But potentially in another year, that's going to get even better as well.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I think that was a really good find. I've actually got Alfie Templeman on there.
Yeah.
Another one that,
there.
yes, he was kind of known, especially locally, like around the start of the podcast, around
Yeah, yeah,
2020,
yeah.
when we spoke about him. And he was like one of the bigger artists from like the local area, and he was
Our
known.
area,
But like,
yeah.
he went on to be like worldwide.
Number
like,
one album.
Yeah.
Worldwide vibes.
huge, and we spoke about him really early on as well.
Mm.
And definitely one of our most consistent pushes to get on the podcast throughout the years.
Yeah.
Bless
Upsets
you.
me, brother.
Yeah.
No,
Never
brother.
quite made it happen with him.
No,
but,
no, really frustrating actually.
Yeah, but he's unreal, and he's another one that we spoke about very early on. So
Yeah,
that
I
was-
think I have to admit, over the years, we've spoken about some like unbelievable talent.
yeah,
Some of which took a different route.
right.
Others have obviously done
Others.
incredibly well.
Yeah, there's loads of them.
So many have done really, really well, and I think it's just a nice like we've seen and been and watched and followed and got involved with lots of unbelievable bands that have now still kicking on and
Yeah.
taking it all by storm.
Yeah, and I think naturally there's always going to be loads that don't
Of course.
make it. I think there's a few that also spring to mind are those that are like still out there doing amazing, like
Yeah.
Covasets, Red Rum Club,
Yeah.
like those bands that haven't necessarily had that like 0 to 100 trajectory at that time, but
They're
have
still
been really consistent,
oh massive
doing amazing shows, released really good music that like we spoke about at the start that are still going and still
Yeah.
doing amazing things. There's loads of them. It is just sad that when you look back, like maybe 75% of them aren't bands anymore,
Yeah.
and that is absolutely insane.
And
But
10% of them are
Bad
But yeah, I
Anyway.
think that we've had like a really, really good run of guests and people have been on the podcast, people shouted out, people we've spoken about.
Yeah.
I think it's time that we do a draft. We used to do these drafts a lot, but I think we pick 5 bands that we had as podcast guests.
Yep.
It won't be a TikTok, so I don't have to do the intro of we're gonna do a draft.
Why would it be a TikTok?
We're gonna do a draft. We're gonna do a draft of
What are we gonna do?
we're gonna do a draft of the best bands that have been on our podcast.
Doesn't have to be a band.
We are gonna do a draft
Best
of our
guests.
best podcast guests.
We were talking over you. You're gonna have to do it one more
Yeah,
time.
do again. Just do intro properly.
We're gonna do a draft. We're gonna do a draft of our best podcast guests.
For those of you that don't know what a draft is, Trippy's gonna explain it.
I actually don't know. I don't know how I would explain that.
Try.
Give it a go.
Basically, it's like
Time's you coming?
it's like picking members for playing a football game when you're in school.
It's nothing
And,
like that.
each of you take turns to pick someone
Yeah. It's like that.
until you have your top 5.
Perfect.
Why is it called a draft?
Because in America
Because it's like a
they
draft
do a
system that they use in
Oh.
American sports.
Yeah, so
So
Americans they
basically,
do a draft system.
one of us will pick one. We're building the best 5, but once one person's picked it, the other person can't pick it.
Yeah.
So we've both got a list of like 10 between us. We will then have our 5 each, and then we'll decide which 5 is better.
How are we gonna pick who goes first?
Let's
Joe's
see
going
who can
first.
spit the furthest.
Not at me.
I
No.
genuinely rate I can hit Chris.
No.
Go on.
For context, Chris is 8 meters away.
I genuinely think I can hit Chris.
Right, can you not? Right, Joe, you go first.
I'm going
First
first.
person to spit on a lens. Anyone
No.
can hit a lens from
Chris
here.
said I'm going first. He's in charge.
All right.
It's quite difficult, isn't it?
No.
Because we actually also
It's not that
we have no
difficult.
measure of how we're actually judging this. I think
the
in
lads.
terms of like quality of podcast that we put
Podcast.
out,
yeah.
rather than it being like
I think
the
quality
bands
of,
that have the most listeners, for example.
I
It's
think
more
the
about the
quality
quality
of
the podcast.
guest.
Yeah. Okay.
as a person, we're rating their personality.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
I
we're
like
not.
it.
We're not. We're
No.
not. The actual like content that came out of the interview,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
not their personality. That would be
No.
harsh.
My first one, I think, is actually quite an obvious pick. I'm going to go with Lou.
Are you?
I am.
Interesting.
Because-
I like that pick. That's a great first pick. That was my. That
We-
is up there with me as well.
I had Lou on as a online interview podcast,
Yeah.
and that is the one that genuinely went on to building a proper relationship with him.
Yeah, proper friendship.
We did another podcast with him in person.
Yep.
That did see the light of day that
Yeah,
no
it
one
did.
listened to, but it was
Oh,
did
it did
see.
see light of day. Yeah,
But
yeah.
people should go find it because it was absolutely fucking brilliant.
Fucking belter. Yeah.
You know, we got quite close with him. We put on his first ever gig,
Yeah.
which we kind of forget about.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
We promoted his first ever gig,
Which is so
which
sick.
is so cool and
Yeah.
like genuinely just really lovely bloke.
One of the nicest blokes that
And I think the
in
one
the space.
there's a few people that we made really good relationships with throughout this, but I think he's one where, yeah, in terms of quality of podcast, quality of music, because I genuinely, especially at the start, like Boys in Pink era, loved his music,
Banger. So good.
and what it's gone on to become in terms of actually promoting his debut gig, I just think it's got to be up there.
I totally agree. I think like content wise, he's very content brain. I think it works perfect. And I also think like as a bloke, he's like just mega to be around. So I think like naturally we just fell into this place of just
Flirting?
being friends. Gonna give him a kiss. I tell you what, I could probably read you the last messages I've sent him, and all of them are very flirtatious.
Okay.
Eyebrows. Okay. I will pull them up because I definitely have.
You're what?
I'll pull him off.
And he's gonna listen to this and be like, "Who are these people?"
Yeah.
Hey up, beautiful. How have you been? His response: Hey up, sex on legs.
It's very strange, yeah. What's that a picture of?
My knob.
Is this the most flirty text chat you've had in the
Yeah,
past 6 months?
have you tried applying that to women?
No, it doesn't work. Doesn't work. I replied to one of his stories, cuties.
No. Yeah,
He
that
replied, hotties. Yep, so.
That is very
And then I
flirty.
replied, then sexy men. So, moving.
Okay, good. So that's my first pick.
So, yeah, Lou's a good first pick. I think he's one of the boys. One of the boys. I would say my first pick that I have is Jack, mate.
It's very close to being my first pick.
So,
as well.
Lou is my second pick. Lou was my second pick. So, Jack, mate was my first.
Yeah.
Purely because I'm a statistical man and the numbers were brilliant. So he did viral wise, they were great. The conversation was fucking hilarious.
It was really good.
It was really funny. We ended up spending quite a lot of time with him anyway, out like at Truck, but then also at Kendall as well. And then I think we've also made a friend out of his friend Joel. And he
Yes.
came to the festival, and I think Joel, as part of that podcast as well, is like a massive like plus, massive benefit
I agree.
from it. I think
Another
it's
real
brilliant.
life connection made through,
Yeah.
like a genuine connection made through the podcast. I also think that truck podcast with Jack Mate has some of the funniest moments.
Some of the funniest moments I think we've ever filmed.
And
That
I-
moment that I was watching back through some of them earlier today, just prepping for the episode, and that one where Joel says that he thinks Queen are really overweight. Queen was really fat.
He thinks the Queen was really fat.
Yeah, you
Went
thought the
straight
Queen
to
was the Queen. Why do I keep putting W? Oh wow, you are the Queen. Oh, I really think the Queen was really fat. Anyway,
people are never going to want this back. It's
Joel,
so good as ever.
Joel said that Queen are really overrated.
Yeah.
And when Jack then was like, I can't remember what it was now. Essentially, he said something along the
He said
lines of,
something
you
like,
had
"Yeah,
AIDS.
mate."
He had AIDS. And Joe went, he nearly died. And Jack's like, he did die. And it is fucking golden. That is
Yeah.
one of my favourite moments
I think-
I've ever seen.
Yeah, you had to
And
do
also
that, it
then
was
we got
good.
featured in Lad Bible
We did get featured in Lab Bible.
for that clip of the Machine
Yeah.
Gun Kelly section, which I'm like, I think that was really funny.
Yeah, it was very funny. And I think there was also like we released that podcast like the week before the first town takeover.
Yeah.
So it's basically the period like September 22 where that podcast is by far our most successful podcast
Yeah,
ever.
yeah, yeah.
And then we delivered a very, very good event and like our first festival in the space of like a week. So like that period of the podcast like is to me
Yeah.
the pinnacle of like what we hit.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was
remember it
really
being like it was all just going
perfect
really
period,
well at
wasn't it?
that time. So
perfect period.
it definitely is like a big thing for us.
Yeah.
That's good.
I agree. So that's my first.
And a fair play for him doing it because I did basically run at him like a madman.
Yeah.
I was like, he was just trying to enjoy the festival, and I was like, "Will you come and speak to us?" And like, to be fair to him, he said he'll come back later, and he actually did, and sat and spoke to us for like an hour. So
Yeah,
fair play.
good on the bloody boy. He's a lovely bloke as
Bloody,
well.
he's not really
Big
bloody, is
fan.
he? Number 2, the motive.
Yes, I agree.
Honestly,
so good.
again, and it's a shame like we haven't spoken to those lads now in
Ages.
a while because
yeah,
we've not
yeah,
been
yeah.
doing this and that sort of stuff. But another couple of people that as soon as we spoke to them on Zoom, it was like, these are
Natural.
genuinely really funny lads. They've obviously come and played a lot of shows for us. And
Yeah,
played
yeah.
our first ever show
They did,
in
yeah.
Northampton as well. They've come over and they recorded an acoustic set in the Black Prince
Yeah,
with us. We've
my-
created loads of content with them. They're just like genuinely such funny lads and
So
a
good.
very, very good band.
One
as
of
well,
my
so.
favourite. They're up there in my list as well. And I think one of my favourite moments with them is when they were kicking a football back around in my garden, and it went through the fence and broke the fence, and I had
That
to spend
was-
half an hour rebuilding the fence.
That was very funny.
Fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
So they're definitely up there for me, just for like extra stuff that's kind of happened with them for sure.
Yeah.
They're so good. I think my second pick is Crawlers.
Nice.
Out
Yeah.
of pure success of the band, amazing people, the content were great. The first episode not as great as the second,
Mm-hmm.
because the first episode they were in a coffee shop
Yeah,
that had
yeah.
all the background noise in the world and they couldn't really hear us.
Yeah.
But the second one, when we met them at Truck, it was just really good vibes.
Yeah.
Thoroughly enjoyed spending time with them. I think they're just really good fun people.
I think what was nice about that is that we'd spoken to them on Zoom once, and then their lives had completely changed in that
Oh
time.
yeah, absolutely.
And yet we saw them at Truck, and it was like,
We'd known them for years.
yeah, and not that like it feels like a low bar for them to be like, oh, we remember speaking to you and being nice, but like
They were
no,
like proper.
they'd be well within
friendly-
their rights to be a bit like, oh yeah, I kind of remember speaking to you on
Yeah,
Zoom
yeah, yeah.
18 months ago. Like that is a very loose link, and they were like, it was like they were.
Oh,
We have
mate,
they're
it's like-
family members you haven't seen in
Yeah,
ages,
they,
which is
they
really
were like
nice,
we
so-
were really, really close friends. And even though we spoke to them like a few back and forths, but it was only that one podcast that we'd actually had proper
Yeah.
conversation. Like it wasn't like COVID sets where we like had the podcast, went on a few nights out with them, things
Yeah.
like that. Like I think they were just literally podcasts and second podcast. And the second podcast was just fucking brilliant. It's
Yeah.
like they were part of the furniture.
Yeah.
They were just like so normal. It was great. Really enjoyed that one.
Agreed. That's a good one. What am I gonna go with for next? I'm gonna throw Rolling Thunder in there
I like that. Yeah, good call. Good call.
because, again, such good lads, and probably
Such
the
good fun.
first, right at the start when we were trying to kind of get into this scene and start speaking to people, they were the first that were like
Yeah, please.
so welcoming into it,
Massively.
so up for doing the podcast, such good lads, and then we just became instantly like good mates with.
Yeah.
Had some very, very funny nights out with
Very
those boys.
long nights out.
Over the
that
years.
night that we went out and one of them put Joel through a table
Yeah.
that we had to hold up because the legs had broken, and it
'Cause
was
they wanted to
the
see WWE moves on
thickest
the
table
street.
I've ever seen. It was like a desk that was like a proper bit of wood, and they went straight for the middle of it, and I was like, that is so fucking funny.
Yeah,
Hilarious.
absolutely brilliant. Genuinely really good content with them as well, and such like a good band. Like I
Good
think
band,
from
great fun.
in Northampton, really good fun. Again, they've played at the drop of a hat. If we said,
Oh
"Do you want
my
to play?"
God,
They
yeah.
will play anything and up for anything, and they're just like, yeah, very good kind of representatives of the Northampton music scene, I think, and have to be in there.
Absolutely, I agree. I've got a rogue one.
Oh god.
And the reason that I'm picking this one is because I think that it was one of the most out of the blue podcasts that then became one of my like favorite ones to be in the room with was Thomas Headon.
I've got Thomas Headon down as well.
I had that. It was completely out of the blue.
Yeah.
We didn't know who was coming in. We were sat down. We were still setting up, and someone walked in and were like, "Are you guys all set up? Do you want Thomas Headon?" And we were
Yeah.
like, "Yeah."
Yeah, so we were live at Leeds.
Oh yeah, more
For
context.
context,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that
yeah.
feels like someone just turned up.
Yeah, turned up at my door in a
your
garage.
garage, like yeah. We were at live at Leeds, and we like the way it works when we go and record at some of these festivals is that like the people who invited us would help set up some interviews.
They'll book some for
but
us, essentially.
generally, we found that like we could message people directly and get them to come in easier than
Yeah.
they could, because it was a little bit. They obviously have to go through some hoops to book people in, whereas
Yeah.
we could just be like, "Hi mate, do you want to come on?" we didn't know Thomas Eden at all. So we had a few booked in. We went and got set up like 2 hours early and whatever. And then, yeah, we were just sat in the room.
It was
And
like 9 o'clock in the morning, and they were like,
the people that invited us in were like, oh, we've got Thomas Eden coming. Do you want him? And we were like, of course.
Yeah.
Like, he's so good. We knew his music, like, and everything like that. But we had obviously not prepped anything whatsoever. And
Nothing.
he just came in and was just so like,
so good. And we had
Yeah.
it, they were like, oh, do you want him? And we had him for 45 minutes.
yeah.
We had a full podcast with Thomas Eden
a
for
classic
absolutely no reason.
thing was them staring at us being like, give us the artist back, because
And
we'd
we-
consistently get them in a bit of a trap, and they'd be like chatting away, and then it would be like, you meant to only have 5 minutes to get a bit of an interview,
had
and it
him
would be
for
like an
40
hour later, and they're like, please give us them back.
They all were
But-
standing at the window, and it was almost like me and Joe. I remember it clear as day. There's like this big long window in the office room that we got given, and we had this long window, and there was 4 people standing there. His manager, the 2 people that were running the Live at Leeds like press area,
Yeah.
all staring through the window at us, being like, "Come on, he needs to go."
But he just didn't
And
give
he-
a fuck.
Both me and Joe just avoided all eye contact
Yeah.
as possible, and so was Thomas Eden.
Yeah,
Like he
yeah.
was until like the 45-minute mark, and he looked up and he was like, "Oh, I probably should go, lads." I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, fair enough."
But he was
He
great,
was
and his
brilliant.
stories are sick as well. Like,
So
he has been
good.
involved in some pretty mad, like,
Yeah,
events
mad
and
spaces.
parties and
Yeah,
all sorts of things. But yeah, he was just like fit in really well. Bear in mind, we didn't know we were actually going to get him on.
He
So
was amazing.
I had him to say as well. But
yeah, he was my
you,
my pick. Go on then.
I'm gonna put DMAs in there
Good. Okay. Yeah.
for a few reasons. Mainly for me personally, that is the most like, they are one of my favorite bands of all time. And it was the most, I wouldn't quite say it's like starstruck, but like sitting across from him, I was like, this is weird. Like,
Yeah.
I have watched, they're still the band I've seen live the most times.
Yeah.
I've seen him play on stage 10 plus times, and then he was just sort of sat there.
Yeah.
And I was
Vibing.
like, this is insane.
And he was great.
He was
well.
so good. He was so lovely.
Yeah.
So up for it. He again had some really like interesting stories and gave us some really good time, because he was really sought after. And another one where they were sort of tapping their watch at him to be like, you've got to get through a lot of people.
Yeah.
And he gave us quite a lot of time and was just so interesting to talk to. But yeah, that was one of the best for me to be like we've interviewed some big bands, probably bigger bands than DMAs, but personally it was the most satisfying to interview.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, that's a real, without it being
proper-
like an Oasis or someone, it's kind of at the upper limit of people we were ever really going to get for me. So I was like, that's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
sick.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it was very cool. I think that's also for you like a proper, almost like a real like special moment
yeah.
in a sense. Like not only like it would have meant more than it being like we could have got fucking Cardi B on, it would have been so much bigger. But like you
Such
wouldn't
an
have cared.
example. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
completely,
Like that's what I
exactly.
mean. Like I like.
That's
like,
what there
I
are
think-
bigger bands, there are bigger artists that you could get, but yeah, in terms of like a personal, there aren't much bigger that you could
Yeah.
get for me. I don't think so. That was from a personal perspective, definitely. DMAs.
Yeah. One of the ones that I really enjoyed, which is going to be my next pick.
How many have we done, by the way?
Yeah, how many?
Is
have
this
we
your last
done?
one?
Four. We've done.
I've
four.
done 4.
This is 4.
This is 4.
So I've done 4. This is your 4.
My 4th.
Yeah.
Okay, my 4th. Oh, that's really fucked me up now.
Crying about it.
Cheers, mum. My 4th is. Oh God, this is now really hard. 'Cause I've got more that I want to pick.
That's the point of the game.
Thank you. My
It's raining really heavily again. by
yeah,
the way.
cheers. My 4th is The Rare Occasions,
Ooh, good
which
one.
is another. I feel like another outsider.
Yeah.
You know, but I
Yeah.
really enjoyed the like international element of that.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought that was really fun because they were obviously LA based and like we but really got on with them.
yeah, we
Like,
did really get on
like,
with
the
them.
conversation was fucking brilliant. The content was great. They were at the pinnacle of where they were at the time. And like that song was going absolutely mental
Yeah.
on socials. Like it was humongous. And when's he getting it?
Good.
And,
Really good.
they were just really fun to be around. I really enjoyed their
Yeah,
company.
I think
on the top.
it was
I
so
really
interesting.
just enjoyed their company. Like
Because they were also talking a lot about how like they'd had this massive viral song that if people don't know. If you search the Rare Occasions on Spotify and play the most popular song, like you will know it.
yeah, no
Everyone knows it. It was huge on TikTok for a while, but like they were still grafting. Like it
Yeah.
hadn't necessarily at that point translated into like
When we had them on, they were on like 12 million monthly listeners.
yeah, but they were playing like 400 cap venues in
Yeah,
LA. So like
the
they had a
roguest
really
thing.
like gone trippy. Looked shocked.
Notion has 800 million.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's enormous.
It's
that song
one
is,
of the biggest songs. Like
it is so big.
but they were and it was happening quite a lot of the time. And we found it so interesting about how you then convert that into
oh,
like
massively.
actual commercial success and selling tickets and stuff. And they were like right in the middle of doing that
Yeah.
at the time. And so it was like really interesting to get their thoughts on that. And
I
they
thought
were
that was
also just lovely. I
fascinating,
liked
yeah.
all anyone that we spoke to, like US side.
I love
was
it.
really
Yeah, We
interesting.
Demand Parachutes has to be
They
a
were
shout out. I
great, yeah.
fucking loved We Demand Parachutes
Yeah,
as
that was
blokes. They were fucking great.
They
It was
were
so
really
much
good.
fun. But go on then, Joe. Your final pick.
I've got so many.
I've got so many. I feel like we do like a shout outs after. as well,
Yeah,
of, like-
yeah. And honourable mentions.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put Red Rum Club in
Wow.
because
Not what I was expecting.
I think that was the main podcast that we finished, and we did it on Zoom. But they sort of left the call, and we just looked at each other and we were like,
That was fucking.
"That
good.
was fucking brilliant."
Yeah. That
like
was brilliant.
went so quick. They were so funny.
Perfect.
Like
as well.
genuinely laughing, which was quite hard to capture on Zoom at the time.
Yeah.
To get
Yeah.
something where it was just so easy to speak to them. And they had also had some really cool fucking stories,
Oh,
like
mate,
about Blossoms
yeah.
and everything, and like they've been around the block at the time, and it's now been another few years, and they're still doing so good. Their music is fucking brilliant. as
Oh,
well.
incredible! Yeah,
Like-
I think they are. They were just so much fun to have the conversation with. Like,
Yeah.
as a chat, they were fucking great.
I just don't think we've ever had probably in any other episode that like instant hang up,
Connection.
look at each other and go,
Yeah.
that was like let's
Yeah.
clip the ends off and stick it up, and that is
That was.
a
It was
brilliant
just. That was
podcast.
like natural flow. That was flow state. That
Yeah.
was that natural positioning where you just fucking rattle on and you go.
Yeah.
You're on. You're in rhythm. There's no breaking conversation. You don't cut anything out. There's no need to cut anything out unless anyone asks you to.
yeah.
It's the type of one where someone would say something they didn't want out there because they just
Yeah,
think they're
yeah.
in a normal conversation. They forget all cameras are there. And that was always our goal. And I think that one was like epitomised.
Pitwise, what we were trying to do is have a band that wouldn't necessarily get loads and loads of mainstream media attention
Yeah.
to give them a bit of a platform, but also not ask them boring questions to make
Yeah.
them feel comfortable. And it just achieved like all of the things we were trying to achieve with it. I think it was such
Yeah,
a good
yeah.
example of what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
So it sticks in my mind, that one.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that my final pick is, and a lot have been left out on the table.
Mm.
The Wombats,
Yeah.
I think has
Very
to be
nearly
there for
put them
me.
in as well.
I think the Wombats have to be there for me because not only were they at the time and now enormous as a band, but he was so fucking
Yeah, he was so good.
he was so fun. Like again, another one where we put the call down and we were like, "This is fucking. That was fucking great."
Yeah.
Like there was no like he didn't. He was almost like being like, "Oh, let us know when you're next in London," sort of thing. Like we were like
Yeah,
having
yeah.
chats about like doing more stuff with them and like getting involved a little bit further. And like it never came to be, but he was just really fun
Yeah.
to be around, like be on call with, and like the natural flow of that conversation, which I think is something we achieved really well with a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people that we achieved that natural flow of conversation for an hour, which is not easy. With a lot of people that we shouldn't have that conversation, we shouldn't be having that conversation with. That shouldn't be some like the Kooks as well. They're
yeah,
another one to
Kooks is
mention.
another one, definitely.
But like, you know, where we have these flow conversations of just where you're like chatting in the pub, like as if you'd known each other for years.
yeah,
That was always our goal. And I think the Wombats was the one that when we finished it, because what was it, episode 50? I think it was episode 50 the Wombats were. And we
possibly. It's the
finished-
end of series 2.
Yeah, it was episode 50.
Yeah.
And we finished it and we were like, this is exactly what we want, is a band of that magnitude.
Yeah, yeah.
That we can sit and have that conversation and ask him stupid shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we were asking some of the daftest questions, man. Like we were asking some daft stuff. So I think that was definitely up there.
Well, we asked him, what was it about an animal? Was it the biggest animal we could beat in a fight or something? And he said something really funny. I think that was the one that's one. And that was, yeah,
Yeah.
is that like one of those moments where you're like, oh, this is.
Can't
Was
believe
it
that
a
we asked-
wombat?
No.
No, I don't think it was. It was something really rogue.
It was
wasn't
something.
It?
Was it like
a
a cow or something? He
or
was
like-
like, "I'll beat the shit out of a cow." Like, he went like leaned really into it, and,
then,
it seems like basic.
spoke
but-
about how he would do it as well. I feel
Yeah.
like he like described it as well. But you'll have to go back and listen to the podcast. Like they're still out there. But yeah, it was fucking
obviously.
obviously. This is tarnishing our life brand
Yeah.
for life. So
Nice.
um,
I'm going to rattle through some names and see if you have any that have left off. But
Yeah.
honorable mentions I had were Abby Ozard,
yeah,
Second
especially truck one.
Thoughts, yes,
Yeah, second thoughts are gaff in the garage.
Kerry Kosh,
Good one.
was a really good podcast.
Enjoyed
that was another
that.
one where
Yeah.
like it
Well,
was
we
just
got to
really
say shit,
interesting.
fuck, that was so fucking
Yeah,
funny. I've
yeah,
never
we've
heard
got
it.
to swear. That is
That's
one of my
so
favourite
good.
moments. Venus Girls,
They're on
I
mine.
had on. That was really good. And then Deco was the last one.
Oh,
I
interesting.
didn't have because I remember that being Deco did those like 80s mix
Yeah,
videos,
yeah, over
and they went
COVID.
massive.
Massive.
And like they'd been on like Good Morning Britain
the day before.
like the day before,
Yeah.
and then he came on our like at the time everyone was trying to speak to
Yeah.
them about it, and then like he came on our podcast, and it was like that's really cool, and it was very interesting to speak
Yeah.
to him on that.
I thought they were good. I've got Cove Sets, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Venus Girls, Motive, Abbey Ozard, and the Shed Project.
Nice.
I've got the Shed Project on there because
Yeah.
I actually
He's
thought
a
it
good
was
bloke.
really fucking fun to talk about. Like he was of that generation older than us,
Yeah,
where like he remembers the 90s Manchester.
yeah, yeah.
Like that type of stuff to talk about that type of stuff with him was just I really enjoyed that.
And I love the idea of like basically a group of guys our dad's age getting back together and
To
like
do a
making
band,
music
yeah.
in a shed. Like that was just
So
it was really
sick.
wholesome. It was
So
good.
sick.
That's a
Yeah, I
good
love
one,
that.
actually.
But yeah, I think to be really honest, every podcast that we've done and released, I don't think there's any that I can say I hated being involved in.
No, well, there were several that we didn't release because we hated. So anything that's out
anything
there,
that I've released,
definitely haven't.
anything that we've released. That's
Yeah.
hence why I said it. Yeah, there's definitely something we didn't release that we thought was terrible, so we
Yeah.
didn't release it. So
Yeah. Nice.
um,
Well, I think we've been going for a little while.
I think we have.
I think
yeah,
that's achieved a lot of what we wanted to speak about. I think
I agree.
the main thing we really wanted to say with this is thank you to absolutely anyone and everyone that
Yeah.
helped and supported throughout. And I think one of the main reasons I wanted to do this was because I didn't want us to just end it without having an opportunity to say thank you.
Yeah, agree.
But to anyone who spent any time watching or listening to this,
yeah, and especially anyone that spent any money
100%.
buying a t-shirt, buying a gig ticket, whatever that may be.
Because we were relentless in trying things. That's what we
Of
wanted
course,
to do.
yeah.
We released a lot of merch. We put on a lot of gigs. We asked quite a lot of people to support us and get behind what we were trying to do. And so many, thousands of people from watching it to buying tickets to
stuff
gigs that
and-
we put on to whatever it may be. And that will forever for us be like an insane achievement that people that we know, and a lot of people that we do know, and friends and family that got involved, but
a lot of people.
so many people that we don't, that
Yeah.
are all over the country and the world that bought into what we were trying to do and kind of proved to us that there was a gap in the market for this sort of stuff. It was beyond what we ever thought it would get to. So
Yeah, massively. And I think there's also like massive thanks to everyone that's actually been involved in it. Like having Trips involved, and to be really honest, it's arguably the reason that we're all now back mates again after these years, because we didn't see each other before we went to one gig in Bedford called like for a band Buzzer Buzzer Budder that we literally put on the story on the podcast,
yeah,
being like, anyone going to this? And Trips came, and since that point, he's been back involved with the friendship. We went and seen him in 6 years.
What a blossoming friendship.
Yeah, which has been
It's
like,
turned out to be.
I think that deserves a massive thank you. Chris putting up with all of our shit behind the camera.
It's been horrible.
And especially, I will also say, especially my shit, because that's my forte, is the cameras and the audio and things like that. And I'm very particular about stuff like that. So I think like massive thank you
but
there.
also you and George at Town Takeovers.
Oh, it's
was elite
enormous.
level
It's
support as well.
enormous. That was such a huge thing. And Trips as well. Everyone at Town Takeover, but like we've already said a nice thing about him. And then also Elliot Williams as well for doing the intro track.
Yeah,
Yeah. He made that for like episode 10 or some shit like that. Also being involved to lengths to the point of where he like edits the podcast and stuff like that now.
Yeah.
Which part of the job, but like good old boy.
It's like, isn't it?
Good old boy.
I think-
Thank you.
Your family for letting us record it relentlessly in your garage is a big one as well.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we
yeah,
had
yeah.
people
Stupid.
at fucking 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night.
And it'd
there'd
be Jason Allen who's driven down from
some
Liverpool
fucking-
to be on the podcast.
Yeah, some random band would knock on his fucking mum's house door and be like, "We're here to record a podcast," and like traipse through and have a drink and and literally on a random Tuesday night, and to put up with that and be like, "Yes, come in, they're at the top."
Oh, they
All
loved
that,
it.
you know, but that is, we would never have been able to do it if we didn't have the space to do it.
Absolutely.
So it wouldn't have happened without them letting us do it there.
Absolutely.
Thanks to you guys.
Woo!
Because amongst many other things, you put on Lame's first gig, the band that I'm in,
Yes!
at Town Takeover #1.
Yeah, it
Thank you.
was.
And then you made me work for the rest of the day.
I did. I cracked that fucking whip.
Yeah.
There was
and-
and we're gonna come back to Lame,
okay,
but
fine.
yes,
And the second thing I just wanted to bring up because something you said reminded me of it. Do you remember those two guys who live tweeted their journey down from up north somewhere to Town Takeover?
I do remember
To see a
that.
band
So
who then
good.
didn't play the festival
Yes.
because they
So
were ill.
good. The claws because they pulled out because they were ill. So funny.
that is
Do we
so
know
good.
who they are?
Nope.
No.
Still no idea. Still absolute no idea who their middle-aged men are. They loved it though. I think they spoke to my mum
Oh, nice.
and they were just like saying how good the festival
Everyone
was.
spoke
and
to your
shit.
mum.
You just said a very
Ah.
heartfelt thank you. Now you're calling her a whore.
Has to be
That's
balanced,
not what he
mate.
said. That's
Yeah.
not what he said.
Well, it's what he implied.
That's what you said.
In pies.
No, implied. Green pie.
No.
Right, that's getting cut out.
Okay.
I need to think before I speak.
Shut up, everyone.
Shut
Thank
up.
you. Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you,
everyone.
thank you.
Apologies and goodbye, but 5 years of stuff. It was good fun.
Yeah, 5 years. A good solid 3.5 years, and then 2 years
Bit
of
of nothingness, baby.
nothing.
I'd like to leave the people with one final little recommendation or prediction or whatever it may be. Something to listen
I
to.
think.
Oh no.
It's okay. There's so much wrong with what you just said. We may definitely have to leave that.
That
in.
was being cut.
It's also you can't predict something that's happened. It's less interesting now.
But that's a callback.
So we didn't really fully prep with this, but I just grabbed 2 bands that you should listen to. So I don't know if you have that or any other predictions or anything, but you can have the next minute.
I
to
do
prepare.
have predictions.
I've got 2 recommendations, as we used to do back in the podcast. At the end, we would always shout out a couple of bands that we think you should listen to. And I've got 2. I've got one that's a little bit bigger, and then one more up and coming. One band called Florence Road,
Yep.
who I've gone really big on TikTok. They're a little bit younger, and they were like making video. You've probably seen it. They're like playing songs in the garage.
Are they the like pop punky boys? They've gone really viral on
It's,
TikTok.
it's like a female fronted band.
No.
They're really, really fucking good. I just checked, and actually, from the last, they've got like 300,000 monthly
Oh my
listeners
God.
now. So they're doing really, really well. But they are up and coming. They've got some really good support slots and stuff. But they're sort of yet to fully like prove their own music, and they definitely are going to. They're really good. So check them out. And then the other one was a band called Lame from Northampton. That I think it is quite a shame that throughout all the years that you're involved in the podcast, you weren't in a band, and as soon as we've stopped it, you've suddenly joined a band
And
and become
Elliot.
way more interesting.
To the
And
day.
Elliot.
The final podcast event was the first time we
What's the
played a
first
gig.
time you played? So you've just bang on when we stopped talking about music, started being in a band. So brilliant. But Trips and Elliot Williams,
Yep.
obvious friends of the podcast, are now in a band called Lame from Northampton, who are genuinely, and not just saying this, so fucking good. Have released 3 now. Very, very good singles.
Might be 4 by the time this comes out.
Might be 4 by next week.
Okay, it won't be 4.
No. 3.
There's a 4th single coming, apparently.
4th single coming, exclusive. Go and listen to them. Come and
Agreed.
see them. They play in the Garibaldi like every day. So just go there. They'll probably be there.
Yeah, Trips is always there sniffing the seats.
But all around London, all around Northampton,
Guildford, they've
constantly
got
playing
quite a few.
gigs.
Guildford.
Guildford, not Guildford.
July
Guildford.
5th. July 5th in King's Cross. Come to our gig.
Bosh.
We'll
Go
be
and
there.
see them. I don't think I can go, but yeah,
I'll be there.
Thank you.
I'll be there in spirit.
I appreciate that.
Waving.
But go and see them. Go listen to their music. It's our good friends, but they are also unbelievable. And yes, thank you for starting that after we had the platform to talk about it, you prick.
Perfect. I think that's a good roundup. We should finish on that because now I'm going to tell you 2 bands that have no relation to us at all. But one of them is a very, very. I thought it'd stay on brand and go pop punk, obviously. It's a band called The Paradox, which is who I thought you were talking about anyway. They've been going viral recently on TikTok. They're a group of young lads, like skater kids, that are doing like garage rock, pop punk.
Nice.
They are fucking brilliant. They are really, really top notch. And my other one, which I think is also feels like a very good callback of what we used to bring out, what we used to talk about a lot anyway, like traditional indie band music. And it's a bloke called Andy Goodwin.
Ooh.
And he did a song recently called Fred Perry Girl. And it's
Yes.
an absolute banger.
Really
It's like
good.
proper classic indie rock
Yeah.
music. Like just is such a good tune. So yeah, definitely worth going and have a look at that. And I've got predictions as well, which I
Okay.
did write down one prediction. And it's one for someone who's going to die and someone who's in prison. And it's the bloke from Happy Mondays. So
Why?
Which one?
The one in the middle, the big one.
The singer,
The bald
Sean
one.
Ryder.
The bald
Is
one.
it Sean Ryder?
Yeah,
Is
Sean
that
Ryder.
is that snowboarder? I get him mixed up.
it's Sean Ryder.
Sean
Ryder.
Ryder.
You think he's gonna be dead or in prison or both?
Yeah.
That was 3 options, and you've said yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Don't know. Just a vibe.
What's your other prediction?
That's that.
Oh, that was it.
One is prison and one is death.
So it's the same bloke.
Um,
Well, on that
bombshell, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for everyone putting up with all of our shit, getting involved as much as you all have, and everyone that has been involved behind the scenes as well. It's been an absolute crack.
Yeah.
I think it's just been real good fun. We've done some really cool things which we couldn't have done without any of you, like without sounding too much like a wanky YouTuber, being like, thank you all, which I am. I am still releasing stuff on a YouTube, so go find it. I'm not going to tag it, but if you want to, if you don't, bye.
Well done, mate. That was a
Yeah,
good final
good work.
speech. Thank
Yeah.
you, everyone. Here's for the next 5 years. We should do it in 5 years on the same day.
Shall
We
we?
should.
Yeah.
Should we do it every
Well,
five?
you
Oh,
won't know.
fuck off, Drip.
We'll be so bored.
Oh,
I'm
boring.
so much richer than you guys.
Doubt it.
Love
Love you all.
Love you all. See you soon.
Thank
We won't see
you.
you soon. I will. Joe
No.
won't.
Oh,
Bye.
Bye.